Hey there, welcome back. So in the previous video, you have seen JavaScript functions, right? We have defined how, what are functions and why you should use functions, what are the different utility functions and how we are going to be using these functions while creating the games and all that. So in this video, let's talk about a specific inbuilt function of JavaScript, which is called the setInterval function. Now, before we go into that, first let me just create a separate file for that. And I'll just copy everything from here. Now I'll just need to modify it. Now instead of 6, let me just write here a single console.log. And that's it. And I'll just remove all of that. So before I go into the setInterval function, I want to show you something. So here I have an image opened. It's from Google Images. I think it's from Media College. You can check this out. There's a very good article regarding frames and videos. So this image divides a video into frames. So we all know that, right? We all know that a video is a sequence of frames, right? So if you divide a video into individual frames, then you can see something like this. So here a man is throwing a boomerang. So here he is holding the boomerang. Next he is about to throw. Next he has thrown it. He is looking at it. He's just restraining gestures and all that. And if you even divide it, into more frames, then you see something like that, right? So a video is nothing but a sequence of frames. Now it's same with the games as well, isn't it? A game is also a sequence of frames, right? So at a point of time your character is at some place, then at a later point of time your character is at some another place, then in another place. So it's also a sequence of frames, right? So the only difference between a video and a frame, at least to me, is that you can interact with a game, right? You can interact with the game, whereas you can't interact with a video. A video is pre-recorded, you can only watch that video, but you can interact with the game. You can control the characters in the game, right? So you can decide how the frames are going to change, or which frames you will see next, right? So that's the difference between a video and a game, and the setInterval function helps us achieve such a thing. So this is how we use the setInterval function. We write as setInterval, and the first parameter is the function name that we want to execute, and the second parameters, first let me just write 1000. I'll let you know. So when we'll be building our game, then we would have to draw the elements of the game continuously, right? Because we will be moving those elements from here to there in the canvas, and for each of the frames those elements will move one step, right? So here I have the paint, right? So let me just draw a square. So at a point of time, say our square is here, and at a later point of time, say this is frame number 1, so this square is here at frame 1, and in the next frame this square is here, and in the next frame this square may be here, and so on, right? So each of the frames this square would change its position, but when we will see all of that together, then it will be like a moving sequence. We'll see this square move from here to here to here in a moving sequence, and we can only do that if this distance is very small, right? So what we would have to do is we would have to draw this square first in this position, then in this position, and then in this position, and as the position of the square changes in the subsequent frames, then it will appear to us that we are watching a video, we are watching a smooth sequence. So here this setInterval function does something like that, but obviously we are not going to draw anything right now. So this is the my fun, right? So here we have 1000. This 1000 is in milliseconds. So whatever we are saying here is that call this function myFun every 1000 millisecond. So 1000 millisecond is 1 second. So every second this function myFun will get called, right? So say that, instead of console.log, maybe this myFun was the function which would be used to draw the elements, right? So every second the elements will get drawn. So if I just kind of run this and I go to console, so you can see there is the sample, right? So it is printing sample every single time. But instead of console log, if I had drawing, this function was used to draw the different elements of the game, then every second those elements will get called, right? Then can you just guess, that what would be the FPS of that game? So if it's 1000, then that game would be an 1 FPS game, isn't it? Because every 1 second you are only modifying 1 frame. So that would be an extremely slow game, and trust me, we're not going to build that. So how can we increase these frames? We can increase the frame by decreasing this millisecond, right? So if we write here 100, then every 100 milliseconds this myFun will get called, and so that the game will be a 10 FPS game, right? If we decrease it more, something like 25, then instead of 10, every 40, this game will be a 40 FPS game, right? So in each second the 40 frames would go in a sequence. So as you can see in this image also, when we have more number of frames, rather than less number of frames, when you have more number of frames, then you can observe this sequence much better, right? You can see everything what's going on, and if we have more than this also, we can even see it better. So our goal would be to use this setInterval function to update the different elements of the game, and we'll also be tweaking with this thing to control the FPS of the game as well. So this is how we are going to use the setInterval function. I'll get to know about it more when we are really building the game, and we are going to be doing it very soon. So that's it for this video, and in the next one we'll be talking about user inputs, and I believe that would be the last for this introduction section. So for now, that's it, and I'll see you in the next one.